Recently, I answered the Quora question, why are rural Americans so much more likely to be conservative? So, this was my original answer. Because nearly all of us live in what amount to small towns or small cities. If you work in a big city or part of a metropolitan area with access to a wider range of people and ideas, there can, of course, be liberals and leftists in rural environments, but people tend to be less exposed to diverse people and ideas in them. So, I do want to expand on that, though. It wasn't a perfect answer, and there's some more to be said about this. Of course, there are problems that plague cities as well, some of which can be staggering. There are challenges of access to food, infrastructure, and healthcare. In fact, as various crises unfold in the future, expect to hear phrases like food czar pop up more often. And with fewer people and less money in rural areas, these places can struggle with prosperity. The World Bank cutely referred to piecing together the poverty puzzle, but it's not such a puzzle, really. It's about how resources are being allocated and why. Furthermore, while small towns and rural areas tend to be more socially conservative and, of course, more rural, there are also pockets of great diversity, despite a lot of talk of a shrinking rural America. Our perceptions of the diversity or lack thereof in small towns need to be tempered by objective reality. If we take more close up looks at people, we'll likely find more diversity in places than expected. For example, I know some people with Native American and Mexican backgrounds. That might not sound like much, but I live in an area with a small population, and it's, of course, mostly white, or self designated as such. I've met people from China, from Africa, from Japan. For a time, I had a housemate from Iran. When I lived in a different house, it was with some students from India for a few months. I worked in a few Chinese restaurants, washing dishes, and I was even a rice cook in a Chinese restaurant, which was a unique experience. And one of my favorite art professors in college was from Taiwan. I had all these different multicultural experiences without really trying, and I definitely have what could be called a rural background. In fact, even though I live 16 miles away from there, my hometown borders on being a ghost town. For example, my former elementary school is actually now pretty much a mostly unvisited museum. And, you know, that's about as rural as it gets when town is kind of going away. So, our views of towns, cities, and suburbs are shaped by biased and otherwise imperfect perspectives, and this can distort our perception of the nature of America itself. The process of communication, interpretation, and change that happens when Americans from disparate places speak to one another helps clarify the true diversity of America and of urban or rural differences, but we have a long way to go. A classic premise is that we are all the same in a larger sense because we live in the same place and because our experiences are equally relevant ethically and factually. Unless we lack human feeling pretty much altogether, we all feel pain, suffering, loss, joy, and love. Shakespeare wrote in As You Like It that all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. We all have our own thoughts, strengths, and weaknesses, and play certain parts wherever we dwell. I think that is the bottom line. So, yep, have a good day.